Hi, folks, and welcome to the Wellesley Raiders football preseason preview. I'm Greg Story. Joined alongside me is Scott Barboza with ESPN Boston High Schools, and we're going to take a little look at the football team going into the season. Scott, welcome aboard.
How's it going, Greg? Always great to be back for another year. Of course, the heat has arrived now that it's September, but hey, what are you going to do? It's New England.
It was a slow start to the summer. It is sweltering hot out here. We are in the dog days of September, it seems like. So, Scott, let's get right into this. This Wellesley team, a playoff team 2 years ago, they got off to a slow start last season. It was looking like it was going to be a bit of a waste, but they end up reeling off 6 wins in a row going into Thanksgiving. Do you expect them to kind of carry that momentum going into this season?
I think that bodes well for this team coming in. Obviously, they had some really convincing wins in that stretch, as you mentioned, down the second half of the season leading into that Needham game. Obviously, everybody in Wellesley wants the final game of the season, whether it being a championship or a win over Needham to be a win. It didn't work out, but I think there's a lot of reasons to be encouraged about this team coming back. We'll get into it a little bit later, but this is obviously a very tough Division II South bracket, looking ahead toward a potential playoff berth, I should say. But also, I think on the flip side of that, you look at the Bay State on both sides this year, both in the Cary and the Herget. I think it's a little bit more wide open, perhaps, than it has been in recent years. I don't think there's really any clear-cut favorites in either of the divisions.
Now, we look ahead to the first night here, going to be under the lights over at Wellesley. A Peabody team, a North Shore team, we don't see a whole lot of them come through here. Obviously, a bit of a change in schedule the last couple of years with the new playoff format. But what can we expect from this Peabody team? I know they got a big running back coming this way in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you talk about Doug Santos coming in from Peabody, somebody that ran for over 2,000 yards last year, and with all intents and purposes should be able to repeat that again this year. This is a team in Peabody that really went toe-to-toe with Everett, one of the perennial state powerhouses in Division I, and made it interesting for more than a little while, mostly because of Santos. His speed is really quite elite for what we'll see in Massachusetts. His separation speed is second to none with anybody in this running back class coming back. But I think this is a good test for this Wellesley team. You look at how Jesse Davis, since he's come here, he's kind of front-loaded that schedule with a team usually from up north. Obviously, last year was Concord Carlisle. I think they're a team that a lot of us, at least this year, coming into this year, I think they could be a sleeper state championship pick. That's a traditionally very strong program. And Peabody's really been a program on the rise here the last couple of years. And that's going to be a great test for them because Peabody, again, with our ESPN Boston preseason top 25, they're just outside of that top 25 poll. So they'll be a team we'll be watching for all season. So that'll be really a great litmus test right off the bat.
Well, speaking of Coach Davis, we caught up with him and just a couple of his seniors just a few moments ago.
Jesse, just talk about this team coming off a 6-5 year last year in a very competitive Division II South, probably one of the more competitive divisions across the state, regardless of division. Just what are your expectations for this group coming back into this year?
We want to start strong. It's been an issue for this program the llast couple of years, 0-4 last year, so we're looking to come off the preseason strong. We had a great offseason. Kids are working out hard, had a good camp, so we're ready to get going. Try to take it one practice at a time.
Well, I mean, everyone in this league works hard. We work hard. Just expecting a lot of toughness, just like some good games. Just really looking forward to the season.
We try and take it one game at a time. Right now we're focused on Peabody. They're not in our league, but it's a good opening game. But in our minds, Bay State is up for grabs, so we're looking to take that this year.
Just taking a look at the offense, obviously your second year under center here. Just what do you expect from that group around you, and what do you think that you guys are going to be able to exploit in the offense?
I just think that every snapper is going to play our hearts out and just look to the guy next to you and just play for him. Just work.
Yeah, Jake's had probably the best offseason out of any player since I've been with the program. He's ready to go, and we're looking for a big effort out of him this year.
So basically, I'm a wing back, and we call it an A-back. And we send people in motion. We try and disguise our plays, make them look the same, so it's harder for teams to game plan, like you said. So we basically try and make every play look the same and then put variations off it.
Now, Scott, we look ahead to the season. What do you expect to see out of the Bay State Conference this year?
Yeah, I think when you take a look at the Herget, I really think the only real team across both divisions here that we're looking at as a pretty strong contender coming in is Walpole. Everything's been really trending in the right direction for them. Obviously, one of the state's great powerhouse programs perennially. But I think they might be the team to win Division III this year. So the goals are set very lofty over there. Looking on the other side, I think Needham, you always have to count Needham into that race. Little bit of a restructuring there, but you really got to like that defensive line. They got some really big bodies coming back, including Baker and Hildreth up front there. They're going to be a handful. So I think outside of that, again, I think Braintree's going to get into that mix here. Newton North, a team that we've seen kind of knocking on the door here the last couple of years. I think those are going to be the two teams to kind of watch out for and see what they do. And of course, we can't forget as well over in the Herget, Milton, with Steve Dombrowski coming over, somebody that's won a Super Bowl title up at Swampscott previously, loves the spread offense. He's going to be able to step right into that situation. He has a bevy of athletes that are already built in there, so they'll definitely be a team to watch out for, particularly on offense.
Milton, one of your sleeper picks going into the season, I believe, right?
Absolutely. I think it's just one of those perfect storm situations. Coach Dombrowski is obviously very well esteemed. He's the head of the Massachusetts State Head Coaches Association, and he's really been kind of one of the early cheerleaders of the spread in this state. You think back historically, Kyle Beatrice, who once held the state all-time passing record. It's a very pass-happy offense, so when the Raiders see them, they better be ready to go in that secondary, obviously.
Milton, a sleeper pick that you guys can read about on ESPN Boston High Schools with Scott right here. So just moving on from that, Division II, Wellesley going into it a couple of years ago, they faced Mansfield in the first round, a team that would later go on to Gillette. Now, I know a pick that you and your co-editor Brendan Hall, going into the season as one of the top teams in the state, has been Marshfield this year. So a team that Wellesley, if they are able to sneak in, could very likely face in the first round or two. What are you looking for out of this Marshfield team and also the rest of the D2?
I think D2 South, really, for the last couple of years, has almost been a group of death, using one of those World Cup soccer analogies. I mean, these teams have always been loaded in the past. Gets a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but the burden will be a little bit lessened for the teams there now that Duxbury's actually moved down to Division III, so that takes away one of the potential pitfalls there. But really, when you look at this, very strong up top. I think the way we project it coming in, Marshfield's our number one team in the state, so obviously you know how we feel about that, their chances at repeating as a state champion. But also, you can't look past Mansfield. Really, I mean, just a great program there. No, they're 2 years removed from a state championship as well, so you got to look at them in the picture. And then also, you know, keeping it a little bit more local here, a team like Quincy that's been building in the last couple of years, they still got a tremendous stable of athletes there. I think they would be liable to really sneak up on somebody in an early round game. And again, if Wellesley can kind of sneak in to, you know, maybe perhaps a 5-6 seed here in the lower half of that table of the standings, maybe get past one of those first round meetings with, you know, perhaps a Marshfield or a Mansfield. You know, King Philip will be in that mix as well, obviously. But perhaps if they get past one of those, playing one of those teams in the first round, might be able to set themselves up and see in a second round game, and hey, let the chips fall where they may from there.
Now, a team that they will say, I mean, we can't have this discussion without talking about Thanksgiving a little bit. A team they're going to see on Thanksgiving, no matter how the cards fall in the playoffs, is going to be Needham, the oldest public high school rivalry in the country. Now, Scott, going into this year, what are you expecting from the guys over at Needham when they come in here? And how do you think Wellesley is going to be able to match up against them?
Yeah, I think as it has been here in the last couple of years from this Needham team, they got a really big, tough, rugged, physical team. Offensive and defensive lines are certainly a strength for them. Now, they've had some pretty exceptional athletes come through there in the last couple of years. Cliff Kirker comes to mind, who was on our site pretty much every week with a different punt return, it seemed like. They're a little bit less experienced in those skill positions than they have been in the last couple of years. So I think that's maybe why some of us across the state are kind of having a wait-and-see approach with them early in the season. But from Needham, you always know what you're going to get. Obviously, with the 128th installment coming up this year, it's always going to be a physical game. I don't really care what the team's records are at that point. It's the game that forged rivals, and everybody wants to be playing in that game in the biggest stage, especially for those, you know, for anybody that's a senior and putting on that jersey for the last time. It's the highlight of their high school football career, no matter what might happen to those teams in a playoff scenario otherwise. But again, with Needham, I expect a big physical football team, and I think Wellesley could be able to exploit them on the periphery a little bit here. Obviously, since Coach Davis has come here, this offense is very creative, very tough with their trap blocking, is sometimes a pretty good way to attack, you know, bigger, more physical linemen up front. I think if they can do that and take the ball to the boundaries, I think they might have a pretty good chance here against Needham.
So just a little bit of a programming note. That Friday night game against Peabody when we come back here is going to play the following week on the Wellesley Media. You can look for all those games to stream later on wellesleymedia.com. But just for now, I want to thank you, Scott Barboza. He's with ESPN Boston High Schools. You can read up on them throughout the season. I'm Greg Story with Wellesley Media. Keep it locked in throughout the year to catch the full coverage of these games.